Hello everyone,
I'm Fatin.
and I'm Anis.
So today, we gonna learn about evolution of Bryophyte.
Do you know that Bryophytes were divided into three groups, which are Liverworts, Hornwoods, and also moss?
Wow! Do you know that Liverworts, Hornwoods, and mosses were the first plants to colonize land? Let's check it out.
Bryophytes superficially appear to have roots, stems, and leaf, because by definition, true roots, stems, and leaf must contain vascular tissue. Alert! They are non-vascular plants, low-lying, and also can only reach max height for 20 cm for mosses.
There are 5 characteristics of Bryophyte. Firstly, bodies are covered by cuticle, which is interrupted in hornwoods and mosses by stomata. Secondly, Bryophyte thrive in mostly damp habitats. However, some species can live in desert, while others can inhabit hostile environments such as the tundra. Thirdly, Bryophytes are non-vascular because they do not have trachea. Instead, water and nutrients circulate inside specialized conducting cells. Next, in a bryophyte, all the vegetative organs belong to the gametophyte, which is the dominant and most familiar form. The sporophyte appears only a short period. Lastly, the sporophyte is dependent on the gametophyte and remains permanently attached to it in order to gain nutrition and protection.
So now, we're gonna take a look at the first group of bryophytes, which is liverworts.
Next, I will explain to you about the liverworts. Liverworts divided into 2 groups, which are thallus and leafy. The leaf of the liverworts are lobate green structure similar to the lobes of the liver. The gametophyte stage is the dominant stage in liverworts. Liverwort sporophyte do not contain stomata. The life cycle of liverwort follows the alternation of the generation. Spores germinate into gametophytes. The zygote develop into a sporophyte that release spores, and then spores produce new gametophyte. Liverwort develop short and small sporophyte. Liverworts can reproduce asexually through the fragmentation of leaf into gamete that disperse and develop into gametophyte.
So now, let's take a look at the structure of bryophytes plants. If you realize, lower surface of liverworts have hair-like extensions called rhizoids. Rhizoids serve in anchorage and assist in the absorption of water. By referring to the picture at the right, you can see that gamma cup was attached to the thallus. In order to start a new plant, the gamma will detach from thallus.
The sexual reproduction of the liverworts. They have 2, which is the male gametophyte and the female gametophyte. For the male gametophyte, we can see here it is stem-like, which name Antheridophore, and the female gametophyte is Achegoniophore.
So now it's time to dig about hornworts.
There are some characteristics of hornwoods. The first one is the leaf of hornwoods are narrow, pipe-like structure. The gametophyte stage is the dominant stage in hornwoods. Hornwood sporophyte contains stomata. The life cycle of hornwoods follows alternation of generations. Spores germinate into gametophyte. The zygote develops into a sporophyte that releases spores. and then spores produce no gametophyte. The hornwoods develop long, slender sporophyte. Hornwood can reproduce asexually through the fragmentation of leaf into gamete that disperse and develop into gametophytes. Lastly, hornwood establish symbiotic relationship with cyanobacteria that fix nitrogen from the environment.
Oh no, you're reaching the end. Before you end, let's learn about mosses first.
Next, let's relearn about mosses. Mosses slow down erosion, store moisture, and store nutrients, and provide shelter for small animals and food for larger herbivores. Mosses have green, flat structure that resemble true leaves which absorb water and nutrients. Some mosses have small branches. Mosses have streaks that are adaptations to dry land, such as stomata present on the stem of the sporophyte. Mosses also are anchored to the substrate by rhizoid, which originate from the base of the gametophyte. The moss life cycle follows the pattern of the alternation of generation, where gametophyte from male and female gametophore, which fertilize to form the sporophyte. The spores are released from the sporophyte to produce new gametophyte. The concentric tissue around the mouth of the capsule is made of triangular, close-fitting units that open and close to release spores, and the peristome increases the spread of the spores after the tip of the capsule falls off the dispersal. Lastly, the seta, or in plural we call it as setae, contains tubular cells that transfer nutrients from the base of the sporophyte to the sporangium.
You guys must be curious how the structure of mosses would look like, right? So there was a capsule which will be green when immature and orange-brown when ripe. The capsule lid is called the operculum, and along the way down from the capsule is called seta, which is kind of like a stalk. If you could see, there was a cluster of leaf at the tip of female shoot that will enclose the archegonia. The leaf will spirally arrange along the stem. So there were also rhizoids, and if you could see the front view of capsule, it will show outer peristome of the closed over opening. So now let's take a look at the key terms. So the first is peristome. It is one or two rings of tooth-like appendages surrounding the opening of the capsule of many mosses that aid in spreading spores. Next is rhizoid, a root-like structure that acts as a support and anchors the plant to its substrate. And lastly, the seta, the stalk of a moss sporangate. Lastly is the seta, which is the stalk of a moss sporangium or occasionally in a liverwort.
Lastly, we will learn about the mosses cycle.
Mosses cycle. So we will start from the plant above, where the spores will germinate and bud and thus grow into a mature gametophyte. Hence, the archegonia, which is the female gamete, will contain the egg, and the enteroidea, which is the male gamete, will contain the flagellated sperm. In order for the fertilization to occur in non-vascular land plants, it requires water so that sperm can swim to eggs. After that, within the archegonium, the fertilized egg divides to produce a multicellular diplot sporophyte embryo. While it matures, the sporophyte is attached to and nutritionally dependent on the gametophyte. When the sporophyte matures, it will release the ungerminated spores. Therefore, spores will germinate and bud and grow into a mature gametophyte again and again.
for learning with us.